All right, so for this video, we once again want to find the derivative of a function, and this time around we're going to use the quotient rule, and we're going to go through and observe that you could also use this with the product and chain, but we're not going to be doing that. So we focused on just the quotient rule here. So first thing to do is going to rewrite our problem. So we're going to be looking at the derivative of the function square root of x over x squared minus 4. And it's very helpful for problems of this nature to just rewrite any of your square roots as fraction exponents. So that's x to the half over x squared minus 4. So in this example here, we're going to let our f of x be our x to the 1/2 power, and our g of x will be our x squared minus 4. So when we take our derivative of our x to the 1/2 divided by our x squared minus 4. We're going to start off with the derivative of x to the 1/2, which we know by the power rule is 1/2 x to the negative 1/2 power. That is then multiplied by our denominator. So that's multiplied with parentheses x squared minus 4. Quotient rule always has subtraction. Again, we're going to have our top function, which is f, which is x to the 1/2 power. And again, that is times the derivative of our denominator, which is just 2x. This whole thing is once again divided by our denominator squared. So that's going to be x squared minus 4 quantity squared. All right, so let's go ahead now and simplify this. This derivative is called h prime of x because that was our original function h. And what we can do in this problem is factor out a 1/2. And we can factor out an x to the negative 1/2 power. And see what we're left with. In our first term, we're going to be left with just plain x squared minus 4. In our second part, behind our subtraction, we're factoring out an x to the negative 1/2, which is going to leave behind an x to the first. And that's still times a 2x. And again, this is all over x squared minus 4. I have to be very careful here because I almost made a mistake. You will notice when I was factoring out in 1/2, I also need to adjust that 2 because half of 4 is 2. So that's actually going to be a 4x that is being factored out or left behind when we factor. All right, so that right there is our factored derivative. And again, we just have 1/2 x to the negative 1/2. And then inside our parentheses, we have an x squared minus a 4x squared. So that makes negative 3 x squared minus 4 over top of x squared minus 4 quantity squared. And we could do one more rewrite for this. We can rewrite this as h prime of x is equal to negative 3 x squared minus 4 over top of 2 square root x times the quantity x squared minus 4 quantity squared. And that is our fully simplified derivative. And again, we want to be consistent. Our original problem started off with the square root notation, and we want to make sure we return our answers with that same format.